In this video, we're going to be going over some of the basic concepts of object handling. The term object just simply refers to the different parts and events that are located within our project. You can manipulate these objects in many different ways, and some of these concepts will become useful when editing your project. So first, we're going to go over some terminology. When recording audio into Cubase, an audio file is created on your hard drive, and this is known as a clip. We can view clips in Cubase by going to the Media menu and opening the Pool window. We'll be covering the Pool window in a future chapter, but all you need to know right now is that our Pool window contains our different audio clips that we record. When an audio clip is inserted into your project, that audio clip is represented by an editable container called an event. Events have their own unique set of properties. So when editing events, it's important to understand that we're not affecting the original audio recording anytime we make an edit to an event. We're simply only modifying that event's properties, which represent the clip itself. And a part is just a container that has the ability of containing multiple events. When we record Midi into Cubase, the Midi data that we're recording are actually multiple events, such as note data or controller data. And the object that we see in our event display containing our Midi events is called a part. So we can just think of a part as a container that has the ability of holding multiple events. Parts can also be created for audio events, which we'll see in a little bit. So the first tool we're going to take a look at is our Object Selection tool. Our Object Selection tool we can use to select different objects in our project. We can also move objects around by clicking and dragging, and we can even resize objects by clicking the small squares in the lower left and lower right corners of that object. The Object Selection tool also has multiple resizing modes, which you can access by double-clicking on the Object Selection tool and choosing another mode. For instance, Sizing Moves Contents will move the contents of the object when we resize it. And in normal mode, when we resize objects, the content that is within the object remains in place. Objects can be copied, pasted, and duplicated. You can use your Object Selection tool to select an object and either press Ctrl or Command-C on your keyboard. This will copy the object. To paste an object, select the track that you would like to paste the object to, then move your cursor to the location that you want to paste it to, and press Ctrl or Command-V on your keyboard. You can also automatically copy and paste objects by selecting an object, then holding Alt or Option on your keyboard and dragging that object to another location. When you release the mouse button, that object will then be pasted to the location wherever you released your mouse button. Selected objects can be duplicated by pressing Ctrl or Command-D on your keyboard. Objects can be split into multiple objects by using the Split tool and clicking anywhere within that object. And this gives you the ability of processing each object independently from one another. With audio events, you can heal a split by using the Glue tool. First, you'll need to use your Object Selection tool to select the events that need to be healed. Then use the Glue tool, click on those events, and the split will be healed. Now, in the case that you have overlapping events or events that have been edited or are not the same, if you select these events, then click on them with the Glue tool, a part is then created for those audio events, and a part will keep our events together if we move them around our event display. You can edit the events within a part simply by double-clicking on the part, which brings up the part editor. And then you can edit the events within the part just as you would if you were editing within the event display. Audio events also have a few other controls which you can access by using the Object Selection tool. If you move your mouse to the upper left or upper right corners of an audio event, you can apply a fade in or a fade out. And the handle at the top center of an event can adjust that event's volume. You can view a selected object's editable properties by enabling the info line at the top of your project window. Just click on your window layouts button and enable the info line option. Now, anytime you select an object, that object's properties will show up within the info line. And each one of these object properties can be edited simply by double-clicking on the value and typing in new values. When moving or editing objects within your event display, objects will move freely. Sometimes it's useful to use guides when moving objects around so that we can keep them aligned to different aspects of our project. And this is where we use snapping. Snapping can be enabled by clicking on the Snap button in your toolbar or by pressing J on your keyboard to toggle it on and off. You can set what you would like your objects to snap to by selecting a snap type within the Snap Type menu. For instance, if you want your objects to stick to your grid, you can use Grid mode and then set your grid resolution within the Grid Type drop-down menu. In this case, we have it set to beat. So when we move our objects around, they automatically stick to the different beats between our bars. If we change this to magnetic cursor, for instance, we can move our cursor to a spot in our project where we want the object to snap to, and our object will move freely until we get close to the cursor. And then the beginning of that event will snap to the cursor. Adjacent or overlapping audio events can be crossfaded, which will help reduce clicks and pops when editing. And to apply a crossfade, just use your object selection tool to select the objects that you would like to apply the crossfade to, then press X on your keyboard, and a crossfade will automatically be generated. You can even edit the crossfade types by simply double-clicking on the crossfade and using the crossfade editor to select the different properties of the fade. If you double-click on an audio event, it will open up the sample editor. The sample editor lets you edit a clip or recording directly, and you can use the various tools within the toolbar. The most commonly used tool is the range selection tool, where you can select the range of audio that you want to edit, and within the inspector, you can visit the process tab and apply several different processing commands. So if we wanted to take a part of a clip and make it silent, you could come under select process and choose silence. You can even apply plugin effects to selected regions by clicking on select plugin and choosing an effect. You can preview that effect by clicking on the preview button, and then you can apply that effect to the audio clip by clicking on process. You can even undo changes that you make directly to a clip by visiting the offline processing history under the audio menu. And you can choose one of the actions that you performed and either modify it, replace it, remove it, or simply just deactivate it. So we're going to choose remove, and we'll go ahead and remove that change that we made. Then we'll come back, select silence, and choose remove again, and now our clip is back to where it was before we started editing. When editing Midi, there's actually 3 different Midi editors that you can use. First, you'll just select the part that you would like to edit. Next, you can visit the Midi menu at the top of Cubase and select one of the various Midi editors that are available. The key editor is an editor which represents a piano roll. You can manipulate your Midi events by using the toolbar at the top of that editor. For instance, the object selection tool you can use to stretch Midi notes out and move them around to other pitches. And all of these editing functions will also obey snapping if you have it enabled. You can erase objects either by selecting them and pressing delete on your keyboard, or by using the eraser tool. If you would like to undo a change, you can press Command or Control Z on your keyboard, and those changes will be undone. Most of the common editing functions within Cubase can be found under the Edit menu, and I highly recommend that you learn some of the key commands associated with these functions. A few other common tools that we use are the Mute tool and the Play tool. First, we're going to choose the Split tool and split a few of our objects here. If we select the Mute tool, we can simply click on an object to mute its playback when we're playing our project. To unmute an event, just use the Mute tool and click on them again. You can use the Play tool to audition the different objects within your event display, simply by left-clicking on them. And you can even make objects other colors by using the Paint Bucket tool. All you need to do is select an object within your event display, select a color using your Paint Bucket tool, and that object will be colored. Once you have a color selected, you can then use the Paint Bucket tool to color the objects, whatever color you choose. If you hold Command or Control while clicking on an object with the Paint Bucket tool, you can see your color palette appear, and then you can simply choose a new color. So that's all for now. We'll see you in the next video.